Welcome, everyone. Whatever your opinions are about the pandemic we went through over the past 3-4 years, they can't be as strong as Marjorie Taylor Greene's opinions. For those who don't know, she is a right-wing Republican House representative from the state of Georgia. On June 3, 2024, Dr. Fauci appeared before a House Select Committee on the coronavirus pandemic examining the U.S. response to COVID-19. Note, I will be stopping this video on occasion to give commentary and needed information because the sheer ignorance displayed by Greene here is beyond comprehension. Facepalm level Infinity plus 42 is strongly recommended when Greene is talking. Okay, you have been warned. Now let's see what she has to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Fauci, you were quoted on CBS Face the Nation saying it's easy to criticize, but they're really criticizing science because I represent science. Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci?
I am a scientist who uses the scientific method to gain information.
Yes, you said you represent science. Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci? Yes
Again,
or no? Yes or no?
No, that's not a yes or no
Yes,
answer.
it's a yes or no.
I don't think it is.
Okay, well, we'll take that as a you don't know what you represent.
Oh,
Anthony Stephen Fauci is an American physician, scientist, and immunologist who served as the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases from 1994 to 1992, and was the chief medical advisor to President Biden from 2021 to 2022. Let's take a look at the clip that Greene is referencing in regard to that out-of-context meme.
Do you think that this is about making you a scapegoat to deflect
Of course.
from President Trump?
Of course. You have to be asleep not to figure that one out.
Well, there are a lot of Republican senators taking aim at this. I mean,
That's okay. I'm just going to do my job. And I'm going to be saving lives, and they're going to be lying.
it seems another layer of danger to play politics around matters of life and death.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And to me, that's unbelievably bad. Because all I want to do is save people's lives. That's what I have done for the last 50 years, 37 of which was leading the Institute. And when I see people who scatter around misinformation and lies that can actually endanger the lives of people, but also it is very easy to pick out an individual and make them a target because that's what people can focus on. But you're talking about systems. You're talking about the CDC. You're talking about the FDA. You're talking about science in general. So if they want to, I mean, anybody who's looking at this carefully realizes that there's a distinct anti-science flavor to this. So if they get up and criticize science, nobody's going to know what they're talking about. But if they get up and really aim their bullets at Tony Fauci, well, people could recognize there's a person there, there's a face, there's a voice you can recognize, you see him on television. So it's easy to criticize. But they're really criticizing science because I represent science. That's dangerous. To me, that's more dangerous than the slings and the arrows that get thrown at me. I'm not going to be around here forever, but science is going to be here forever. And if you damage science, you are doing something very detrimental to society long after I leave, and that's what I worry about.
That clip is from November 28th, 2021. Yes, he comes off as arrogant, but what doctor doesn't? He also represents science in that he is an immunologist and knows far more than those sitting in their chairs on the House Select Committee, showing images that they think prove their narratives. Case in point, the rest of this video. Warning, what she's about to show is meant to emotionally trigger people because she has an agenda. An agenda she pushes based on her willful, arrogant ignorance. I wonder if she is a flat earther too.
But this, as director of the NIH, you did sign off on these so-called scientific experiments. And as a dog lover, I want to tell you this is disgusting and evil, what you signed off on, and these experiments that happened to beagles paid for by the American taxpayer. And I want you to know Americans don't pay their taxes for animals to be tortured like this. So the type of science that you are representing, Mr. Fauci, is abhorrent, and it needs to stop.
Greene or her people did not do their due diligence. I did my due diligence and found this article from USA Today dated November 11, 2021, titled Fact Check: Viral Photo Shows Beagles in Tunisian Leishmaniasis Study, with links to newspaper articles and the study itself. I have included all those links in the description of this video. This is where the information part comes in. If you need to take a pee break or get a snack or a drink, you have ample time. It will be a few minutes. The image that Greene is holding is from this study on enhanced attraction of sandfly vectors of Leishmania infantum to dogs infected with zoonotic visceral leishmaniasis, published on July 27, 2021. The author's summary reads as follows. Zoonotic visceral leishmaniasis is a neglected tropical disease caused by the parasite Leishmania infantum. In the western Mediterranean basin, Phlebotomus perniciosus and Phlebotomus perfilui are the main vectors of L. infantum, and dogs are the main reservoir host of the parasite. In northern Africa, ZVL affect mostly children less than 5 years. Understanding the chemical ecology governing the relationships between the vector, the parasite, and the reservoir host is of major epidemiological importance. Previous studies based on rodent models have shown that the infection with L. infantum enhanced the attractiveness towards Lotsomaya longipapalis, the major vector of ZVL in the Americas. In this study, we reported for the first time that infected dogs are highly attractive to both male and female P. perniciosis under laboratory and field conditions compared to uninfected dogs. Similar patterns were observed with wild populations of P. perfilui. Our results provide strong evidence that the parasite manipulates the reservoir host to enhance its transmission success by the vector. Further in this study, it reports that zoonotic visceral leishmaniasis, ZVL, can affect both humans and canines and is considered by the WHO to be one of the most important neglected tropical diseases. It affects about 0.5 million people per year and is widespread in South and Central America, North Africa, Southern Europe, Middle and Far Eastern countries. ZVL distribution is strongly correlated with poverty, and in Tunisia is a peri-domestic disease, mostly epidemic in rural areas, affecting families of low social and economic status. ZVL is a systematic disease that frequently results in the death of infected individuals if untreated. No effective vaccine for human visceral leishmaniasis is available, and in Tunisia the disease has an estimated incidence between 100 and 160 cases per 100,000 inhabitants, with a mortality rate of 6%. The incidence of ZVL is highest among children between 1 and 2 years of age. Now, don't get me wrong, some of the things they do while studying those dogs, like cutting their vocal cords so they can't bark, is awful. But should researchers just stop studying this disease because dogs are used in this study? Does dog lover Greene, with her first world U.S. MAGA problems, propose using already infected 1 and 2-year-old children in Tunisia and other countries where it is common instead? What is the happy medium acceptable for everyone in this case? According to the CDC, most cases of leishmaniasis that are diagnosed in the U.S. are in people that were infected while traveling or living in other countries. Occasionally, people have had locally acquired cutaneous leishmaniasis, the most common form of leishmaniasis, which causes skin sores, especially in Texas and rarely other states, for example, Oklahoma and Arizona. There have been no known causes of acquired visceral leishmaniasis in the U.S. The Gateway Pundit published an article on August 31, 2021, titled, Exclusive: Dr. Fauci used taxpayer money to have dogs tortured and eaten alive by parasite-infected flies in Tunisia. Photos. The White Coat Waste Project, a taxpayer watchdog group, has provided the Gateway Pundit with new examples of Dr. Anthony Fauci facilitating cruel and unnecessary taxpayer-funded experimentation on dogs, this time in Tunisia. Documents uncovered by the organization found that the National Institutes of Health division that is led by Dr. Fauci shipped part of a $375,800 grant to the lab in Tunisia to infest beagles with parasites. The grant money funded a study published last month that detailed the horror inflicted upon the unlucky dogs. An article was published by The Hill on October 22, 2021 with the headline, Bipartisan Legislators Demand Answers from Fauci on Cruel Puppy Experiments. A bipartisan letter demands answers from the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and President Biden's chief medical advisor, while at the same time critics point out erroneous and misleading facts used in the letter and in the underlying campaign. The White Coat Waste Project, the controversial nonprofit organization that first pointed out that U.S. taxpayers were being used to fund the controversial Wuhan Institute of Virology, have now turned its sights on Anthony Fauci on another animal testing-related matter, infecting dozens of beagles with disease-causing parasites to test an experimental drug on them. Our investigators show that Fauci's NIH division shipped part of a $375,800 grant to a lab in Tunisia to drug beagles and lock their heads in mesh cages filled with hungry sandflies so the insects could eat them alive, White Coat Waste told Changing America. On October 23, 2021, the image Greene was holding was posted on the Twitter account of Disclose TV. That same day, Candace Owens took that Twitter post and posted it on her Instagram account, and the story went viral. On November 11, 2021, a correction was made to the study as follows. There are errors in the funding statement. The correct funding statement is as follows. The authors received no specific funding for this work. The U.S. National Institutes of Health and the Wellcome Trust did not provide any funding for this research, and any such claim was made in error. There is an error in the ethics statement. The corrected statement is then shown. This is the original statement. The highlighted sentence was removed from the corrected statement. On November 19, 2021, with people emotionally and morally outraged, the Washington Post reported Fauci swamped by angry phone calls over beagle experiments after a campaign that included misleading image. Little-known animal rights group leverages hostility among conservatives toward U.S. COVID chief. On October 22, 2021, at the very end of the Hill article, there was a note stating the following. Note: this story was updated on October 28, 2021 with information from Americans for Medical Progress and the Washington Post. It was further edited on January 26, 2022 for clarity. The October 28, 2021 update is as follows. In response to the critical backlash to testing on beagles, the Americans for Medical Progress, AMP, forwarded a statement to Changing America arguing that NIAID, National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, has been a target of misleading animal rights organizations. The AMP also linked to a Washington Post opinion piece which was critical of the media's coverage of this story. Some of the experiments in euthanasia of beagles took place to develop a drug vaccine against leishmaniasis, a parasitic disease that affects canines and humans, AMP wrote. The research led with beagles because dogs are typically the host of leishmaniasis. The disease would then carry onto humans via sandfly bites. One of the three projects the White Coat Waste Project claimed used tax dollars was not funded by the NIAID nor the NIH, AMP wrote, adding that the photo above came from that project. From those projects it was involved with, the NIH took extreme caution ensuring the beagles involved in the studies did not suffer, AMP wrote, contradicting White Coat Waste Project's claims that puppies were being eaten alive by flies. Okay, everyone back? Did I lose anyone? If you are still in the side chat or just watching, please type cookie in the side chat, or put the emoji if you want to. Here is my cat playing with a laser while we wait. Phew, good to know you all didn't get lost. Okay, back to it.
Mr. Fauci, you also represent the type of science where you confess that you made up the COVID rules, including
I didn't hear what you
6
said.
feet social distancing and masking of children.
I never said I made anything up.
You admitted that you made it up. You
I
made it
didn't
up
say
as you went.
I made it up.
So are you saying this is fake news, Mr. Fauci?
I didn't say I made anything up.
What did you say?
I said that it is not based in science and it just appeared.
But this is science.
What does dogs have to do with anything that we're talking about today?
These are scientific experiments. This is what you signed off on. But you also told the American people they had to distance by 6 feet. They had to wear masks.
Greene really needs to get some new researchers. Her information is very inaccurate. The 6-foot distancing rule was updated on July 6, 2020 by none other than the CDC, whose director at the time was Robert R. Redfield, MD, not Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci was the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, one of the 27 facilities of the National Institute of Health at the time.
But let's also talk a little bit further about the type of science that you represent. NIH scientists made $710 million in royalties from drug makers, a fact that's been hidden. Let's talk about the fact about, is it right for scientists and doctors getting paid by the American people, government taxpayer paychecks, to get patents where they're paid millions and hundreds of millions of dollars in royalty fees, especially when the NIH and these government agencies, most powerful agencies in our country.
I would counter that the House of Representatives and the Senate are the two most powerful agencies in the U.S. government. There are no term limits. The reps get paid with taxpayer dollars with little to no oversight. They get alleged kickbacks from those corporations and individuals that they help, and they appropriate taxpayer money to the various agencies and their districts as they see fit. And there's obviously so much more that I can't recall right now. Oh, and as far as the New York Post article goes, that is just more misinformation geared to push the "they lied to us" agenda. FactCheck.org reported in its article, "Conservative Posts Misrepresent Royalty Payments to Fauci and Collins." Documents show that Dr. Anthony Fauci and Dr. Francis Collins received 58 royalty payments from 2010 to 2021 for their research. Only 3 of the payments came in 2020 or 2021. The rest were made prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. But social media posts falsely claimed all the payments were, quote, for allowing companies to use their COVID-19 vaccines, unquote. It then gets into the full story with details. But the details is not what Greene and her ilk want people to know because it goes against her narrative. The link for that factcheck.org article is in the description as well.
Are recommending medical suggestions and advice and making up guidelines like 6 feet distancing and masking of children. Do you think that's appropriate? Do the American people deserve to be abused like that, Mr. Fauci? Because you're not doctor. You're Mr. Fauci in my few minutes. No, I don't need your answer. I want to talk about this right here.
Mr. Chairman,
Fauci,
objection.
I reclaim my time.
Objection.
I reclaim my time. I reclaim my time, Mr. Raskin.
Gentlelady will suspend.
Uh-oh, it seems like the manager is going to talk to Karen Taylor Greene now. I will let this go until the end and not interrupt anymore because it gets good.
Mr. Chairman,
Point of order.
just in terms of the rules of decorum, are we allowed to deny that a doctor is a doctor just because we don't want him to be a doctor?
Yes, because in my time, that man does not deserve to have a license. As a matter of fact, it should be revoked, and he belongs in
Gentlelady will
prison.
suspend. The gentlelady should recognize the doctor as a doctor.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, is this what we have become? Is this what we have devolved into? No decorum.
You know what? We can do that hearing about the poor men that were injected with syphilis because I support you in that. That's horrific. And this government that does things like that to Americans doesn't have decorum to the American people.
Mr. Chairman,
The gentleman is out of
point of regular order, please.
The gentleman is out of order.
Decorum.
Recognize the point of order. Go ahead with your point of order.
You got it.
No, I mean, I was going to say what Representative Raskin said. That's completely unacceptable to be able to deny Dr. Fauci, who's here, a respected member of the medical community, his title. And that's actually a personal attack on his character.
And I have instructed her.
He's not respected.
And I've instructed her to address him as a doctor.
I'm not
Gentlelady shall
addressing him as
continue.
doctor. Let's talk about
Mr. Chairman,
this.
I
I'm
would
reclaiming
move that the
my
woman's
time. I'm reclaiming my time.
Words get taken
I'm
down
reclaiming my time.
Second that.
Point of order.
Suspend.
All right.
A member can only move to have words. The issues we are debating are important ones that members feel deeply about. And while vigorous disagreement is part of the legislative process, as I said at the beginning, members are reminded that we must adhere to established standards of decorum in debate. This is a reminder that it is a violation of House rules and the rules of this committee to engage in personalities regarding other members or to question the motives of a colleague. Remarks of that type are not permitted by the rules and are not in keeping with the best traditions of our committee. The chair will enforce these rules of decorum at all times and urges all members to be mindful of their remarks. Does the gentleman from California have anything further?
We should have to take her words down.
Yeah, I made it, I offered that her words be taken down, Mr. Chair.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a point of order.
Mr.
Because
Griffin
they
is
accused us of worshiping President Trump. We don't worship President Trump.
Gentlelady will suspend. Mr. Griffin, you have a point of order.
Mr. Chairman, while it may not be polite, I believe the rule only applies to members of this body, the Senate, and the President of the United States. I do not believe that it applies. The rule on taking down words does not apply to a witness. Again, I'm not condoning the words. I'm just relating or asking whether or not it applies to individuals who are just happen to be here in front of us.
I agree. The chair overrules the point of order by the gentleman from Maryland, but asks that members please afford all other members the respect they're entitled, refrain from using rhetoric that could be construed as an attack on the motives or character of another member or the witness. You may proceed.
Thank you. This was a time in history where you got to throw out the first pitch at the Washington Nationals baseball game, while Americans were forced to stay home and watch such events that they love from at home alone on their televisions. And what a hypocrisy this picture shows. Here you are without your mask, with empty seats everywhere. Remember the cardboard cutout fans? That was one of the most insulting things to Americans, having to watch the games from home where you got to go and enjoy the game and sit right next to people not following the 6 feet of distancing, not wearing your mask, and everyone else was forced to stay home and stop enjoying life. And your science here, your science is displayed perfectly in this picture where children in school were put in plastic bubbles because of your science, your repulsive, evil science. And let's go back to your very own email. You said earlier you don't use email. Oh, you do. Right here. This is your own email where you said the typical mask you buy in the drugstore is not really effective in keeping out virus. I do not recommend that you wear a mask. This is your email. This is your own words. But yet children all over America were forced to wear masks. Healthy children forced to wear masks, muzzled in their schools. And then they were forced to learn from home because of your so-called science and your medical suggestions, while you and all your cronies get paid from Big Pharma. You know that what this committee should be doing? We should be recommending you to be prosecuted. We should be writing a criminal referral because you should be prosecuted for crimes against humanity. You belong in prison, Dr. Fauci.
Mr. Chairman, I have another point of order.
I recognize Ms. Dingell.
Just want to make sure the record is clear. Dr. Fauci testified that he did not use his personal email for official business. He did not say he did not use email. And I think today, this particular has been full of lies and disregard and disrespect, and we need to stick to facts.
What happened during the COVID pandemic was not the same as the Tuskegee experiment. She can fuck right off with that. The Tuskegee experiment was a terrible and deliberate thing done by the U.S. government. COVID, though terrible, was not deliberate. It was simply a virus killing people in vast numbers all over the world. Every leader in every country was taken by surprise with it and was doing what they could do to stop the spread, which included masks and lockdowns. Did some take advantage of it and not practice what they preached? Yes. There were those in the various world governments, social media, and YouTube helping to contribute to the spread of COVID with misinformation and suggesting other unfounded and dangerous things to stop the virus. And there were those who denied the virus even existed because of their absolute ignorance. Some who denied it died from it. But let's get back to the topic at hand, shall we? And that would be Marjorie Taylor Greene, who turns every committee hearing she is in into the Karening and brings chaos wherever she goes. Don't forget to do all the YouTubey things. You know what they are. You've got it. Thank you for watching. You are all awesome. See you in the next video.